You are listening to the 100X podcast. I'm your host, Matthew, got my co-host, Caesar, and today we are sitting down for another iteration of the conversation, asking the question, hey, if we really believe that crypto and gaming intersecting is the future of both of those industries, where the heck is it going to take place? Today, we're asking, will it take place on XAI? We've got the founder himself, Soby, joining us for a great conversation about what you guys are building. Soby, can you break down what XAI is, where you guys came from? You, not too long ago, were the new kid on the block, but you are coming out swinging. You've got a lot of really great games building on XAI now. What are you guys building? Why are you different than some of these other chains out there that want to be the home of gaming?
Yeah, great question. So XAI is the first, layer 3 built in the Arbitrum ecosystem. That really doesn't mean much. I think the tagline, if you will, is we are the place for abstracted gaming. So what that means, abstraction is a term that's been thrown around a lot for people that, are not familiar with it or what it means in this context. It just means getting rid of all the clunky stuff with blockchains. So, social login, gasless experience, etc. We've spent a lot of time and effort into really building the best user experience. While still maintaining the network effects of the EVM and the deep liquidity that Arbitrum, the L2 itself provides. We have about 5 games going live in October. This month, we have over half a dozen games signed. We've been on mainnet for like 6-7 months. Right now, we are the highest scaling chain, EVM chain by TPS. It's like us and base usually.
Okay.
And I have about 3 million active users so far. That number should go up a lot more over the next few months. And I think part of the reason why we've seen so much success again is we had this core thesis and belief that, the affordances and the benefits of blockchain technology with regards to gaming are immense, but the thing that was stopping that from being shown or displayed or showcased in a meaningful way was really how clunky everything was. And that's why we work really closely with Off-Chain Labs and Arbitrum, et cetera, to build this piece of innovative technology that abstracts all our way.
Before we dig into everything this episode has to offer, we want to highlight the awesome partners who sponsor this podcast and make it possible for us to work full-time on 100X. They're legends, and we appreciate them for supporting us. Let me tell you about our friends at games.gg. And when I say friends, I really do mean that they are friends of 100X. Their CEO, Omar, was one of my first introductions to Web3 gaming, and we're OG holders of their Gamers Lobby collection. We love these guys. They're essentially the super app of Web3 gaming. One of the cool things they've cooked up is a gaming quest system. You complete free quests for cool games, anything from retweeting a post to beating a mission in a new game, and then you get rewards, tokens, skins, whitelist access, all kinds of things. Go explore everything awesome they've crafted just for you at games.gg right now. Nice. I mean, essentially, hey, crypto is awesome. It unlocks really cool things, but it is not easy to use if you're not crypto native or crypto literate. And gamers are just honestly, traditionally not crypto users. What does that look like? When you say abstraction, how do you guys practically make that easier for gamers to play games in Web3?
Yeah, so for instance, we have XAI Connect, which is kind of our wallet solution that can be a wallet solution for other people as well. So what I mean by that is if you're a game and you are already using Privy or Sequence or whatever, you can still use XAI Connect. It's a smart contract wallet that will create a wallet for you, and your other third-party wallet will be a signer. Not all that stuff is techno jumble, whatever. What it really means is just no private key. No, when you make a new wallet, it's like write down 12 or 14 words or you're going to lose everything.
Right.
None of that. Which I think gamers hate that stuff. I'm a big gamer myself. And when I have to download a new launcher for a game, I'm already over
man.
it. I'm like,
it's the worst.
Yeah. Like, why can't I just play this on Steam, right? So we wanted to limit that friction as much as possible. So you have social login, social recovery. In addition to that, we sponsor all of the gas costs on the chain. So as a user, you won't have to pay for any of this stuff. This is a big reason why games love us, because we bring their operational costs down, right, by subsidizing their gas. And this is done, through this decentralized node network and stuff that we have, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, really in practice, that's kind of what it looks like. No gas fees, none of that. The other thing too, I guess, to mention is we are quite fast. I think we're 75 times as fast as like Ethereum, or like 15 times as fast as Ronin, and like 30 something times as fast as Immutable, things like that. So the reason why I think speed is important there is you get really fast like finality and stuff on your transactions. you're not even, waiting. It's like you're done, boom. It's a Solana type experience, really. So
Do
all
you
those things combined.
do
Go
you
ahead.
guys have any games that are like explicitly on-chain games that would be really tapping into the speed of that? Because I know that's one of the big problems with on-chain games.
Yeah, so we have Tarochi. Tarochi was when they had their first season, quickly became one of the biggest on-chain games. Tarochi is kind of like a Pokemon-esque game.
Yep.
That same studio is now building a tower defense game that will be alive later in the year. The Tarochi team, or the Tarochi game, is built by this group called Pima Studios. They're really intelligent, bright dudes that have built all kinds of stuff. I think they processed several million transactions or something close to that number, and they spent literally a few Zai on their transaction fees because they do all kinds of like layer four whoop de whoop stuff that like is pretty sick. And I think we have our flagship game, Final Forum, which is a fully decentralized game that will be going live sometime, Q4, Q1. And yeah, we're speaking to a few other on-chain games as well. I think the on-chain gaming space will see a lot more growth with app chains and
Yeah.
stuff. The only hurdle, I guess, is the TAM, or like the user base for some of these on-chain games isn't that big, right? So right now we're really focused on onboarding a lot of mainstream users and growing the user pie. And that doesn't mean that on-chain games can't do that. It's just that on-chain gaming is a newer kind of subcategory of games, right? So we
Right.
follow that space very closely, and there's some really awesome teams building on-chain games. Like I think the Duper team is really good. I think the Primordium team are really good. Um, and yeah, it is an area of interest for us, but it's not the main
Yeah, not the
area of
core focus.
focus.
It's like it's one of
Yeah.
those areas that we could see blowing up and becoming awesome down the line, but there's still a lot that needs to be proven there. I mean, talking about the abstraction piece of the puzzle and where you guys are just making interacting with crypto way easier for people who maybe are not super familiar with it. The whole reason you do that is because we all know there's not enough gamers in crypto. There's a ton of us that like gaming. There's a ton of us that like crypto. There's a handful of us that like both of those things. But I would say most of the people that are in crypto gaming are here because they see a money opportunity, not because they want to actually play the games. And so you handle abstraction to get people who just want to play the games. What does that look like? Like, how are you guys actually going to acquire gamers? I was talking with someone yesterday about how I know you mentioned Ronin earlier, and your speed versus theirs. One of their big thumbs up positive bonuses as a chain over there is that they just have a ton of users. How are you guys, like, what's your pitch for gaining more people that are going to play the games? Because obviously if I was building a game and I was trying to pick, okay, so I've got these maybe 5 or 6 tier 1 chains that want to be the home for gaming. One of the questions that I'm going to ask when I decide where to park myself is, who's actually going to bring me the most people that are going to play my game beyond the initial airdrop hype, or beyond that, like, cool, we've got a token drive or something happening. I just want people to play my game. What does that look like for you guys? How are you acquiring gamers and players?
Good question. So I think right away we have about 3 million active users, which is pretty high for as far as like blockchains go, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not that high in the sense of like overall, compared to other applications in the Web2 space, but we're growing. We've only been around for so long, and I think this next quarter is going to be explosive growth for us and our users. With regards to user acquisition, there's a bunch of different initiatives we do. So we're really close with Web2 Titans in Steam and Epic. So one of our games is actually on the Steam Summerfest right now, or whatever it's called, Lost Glitches. We helped get them in front of that. We work closely with, or Steam Next Fest is what it's called. Then we've also helped, some of our games work with Team Secret, which is a like top 5 esports team globally. That helps with a lot of
Yep.
stuff. We do a lot of marketing stuff with them in the sense of getting streamers and stuff. Lost Glitches had some of the biggest TCG players playing the game, right? So there's all kinds of different strategies. I think really what it comes down to is also understanding the strategy for each game is going to be different, right? Like Lost Glitch is a TCG game, so it's a little bit more defined and easy, I'd say. Like, right, go find where the TCG players are. TCG is a little bit more niche. We don't have any first-person shooter games that aren't mobile, but those get, like, for instance, we have Planet X, which I think is going to be a phenomenal game. I think
It
it's
looks
better than
really
PUBG
clean.
Mobile.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks really clean.
you should play it. A lot of people, everyone that's played the game raves about it. We love that game. It's one of our flagship games. I love James and his team, very passionate. And for Planet X, they have the core game loop actually lends itself to virality, where you have these limited time game hunts, and these limited time game hunts have real prizes associated with them, right? So imagine you're like a college kid, and maybe you're going to like the Ohio State or going to Michigan or whatever, and there's like, hey, like there is a CJ Stroud jersey up for grabs, right? And you get this push notification on your phone. You're gonna go play the game. You're gonna win the CJ Stroud jersey, and that stuff like that has so much content capabilities to it, right?
Right.
We're working with some of the Phase guys love Planet X. There's all these different content creators that love this game, right? And they just want to make content for the game because there's like high stakes, bite-sized, limited kind of gameplay, right? It's just fucking sick. People love this shit. It has like huge TikTok capabilities, and so that I think, right, just in that nature of that game is going to drive so many users and players. In addition to that, we have Riftstorm, another one of our flagship games.
Yep.
This game had I think near 100,000 play testers where they were on Steam, super high up on the Steam charts, etc. Game looks awesome. The tagline for the game is like Diablo with guns, basically, which people love that type of game. Looks great on a Steam Deck. We're working closely with. They just signed with I think Jonah Blake too as well.
Yep.
And so all these games are unique, right? They have these unique categories or niches or unique things to them that make it easier for them to market versus like if you just had Call of Duty competitor, right? Like that's much more difficult to market because there's no unique selling point to it. So we look for unique selling points in all of our games, and then we work really closely with them with their go to market, with the influencer marketing, with the content creator marketing. And in addition to that, right, there's guilds and all this stuff that help as well. But what's interesting, I think this is like a good piece of alpha actually. If you pay for in Asia, if you pay for Web2 content creators and gaming societies and organizations, all this stuff, those actually have really high conversion rates to Web3 because it's not polarized at all there. There's not much opinion or negative opinion in Web3. So in Asia, it's really interesting. Ripstorm team is from Indonesia. The founder had led the largest game studio in Indonesia. Indonesia is like twice as big as the Philippines, right? So we think Indonesia is going to be like the next Philippines in terms of their impact on Web3, and we're taking a big strategic bet there. But yeah, there's all kinds of different ways that we approach this. And ultimately, I think the top of the funnel can be as big as it needs to be, but if that user experience isn't good, your conversion rates are going to be really low, right? So we're really excited to see, some of these campaigns and some of these games go live over the next few months. And I think, next time we'll chat, we'll have even more users than we have today, which is awesome.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the question of like, if I'm paying attention to that funnel that you're referencing, in my mind, when I look at a chain, the funnel I'm looking at is, okay, if this chain is going to become awesome to the point of existing in 3 years from now, in 5 years from now, of actually getting games and players, there's 3 questions that need to be answered. Question 1 is, what's the unique selling point that would actually attract gamers to your chain rather than a different chain? Okay, abstraction, i.e., it's just really easy to play games on XAI. So that's a win for gamers. And 2 is you've got really unique games that maybe don't look like games on other chains. So now you've got 2 wins for gamers. The next thing I would look at, the other 2 questions would be, hey, why would games build on XAI? And then why would maybe speculators, DeFi users, broader crypto care about this chain versus other chains? On the that first or that second point of, hey, why would games build on XAI? What does it look like? So if I was a game and I was trying to decide where to build, okay, should I go to XAI? Should I go to AVAX? Should I go to Ronin? Who do I want to build on? What's that unique selling point for the games themselves of, hey, this is why you should come hang out in our camp? Because you guys have got Meiji. We love Sinjin. You pulled them over. If you won over Sinjin, what's that unique selling point that is getting Riftstorm signed recently? Why are they choosing to build on XAI?
So I think there's a few different reasons, right? I think we, as a team, I'd say I'm so blessed and fortunate with how good our team is. It's awesome to go to work every day and work with people that inspire you and challenge you and make you better and are really good at their jobs. And so we have a really strong team. We go above and beyond for our partners. So Valeria is another one of our flagship games. When they were thinking about moving over to XAI, I asked them, hey, what's all the middleware that you guys use, right? And we just went and got all of the solutions that they use to deploy to XAI, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to come. I think the other thing too is, right, we have a strong community that people love. I think we give them the best odds of success if they believe in themselves. Like if they're not just here to maximize on grants and stuff, and they think, hey, we have a really good game and we want to have the best user experience and really be able to grow as much as possible, unencumbered by the normal limitations of blockchain technology. I think we give a really good shot of that, right? So I think Avax and Ronin have done really well as well. Like I'm a big fan of Off the Grid, big fan of Runiverse. I think the issue or problem, or maybe not issue or problem is the correct word, but I don't think there's going to be a chain that's the home for gaming. I think gaming is in
I'd
such its
agree with
early
that.
stage, right? That like there's so many different choices and trade offs, and I honestly I think a lot of it comes down to like how much do you vibe with the team that you're going to work with, right? Like one thing for us is we're a really passionate group of people that is dedicated to gaming, focused on gaming. We have a large war chest as well, so we're going to be here for a long time. But I think for really it comes down to like our technology is really good, our community is really good, our marketing support. Like we get dirty with our partners, right? Like right before this, I just spent an hour and a half with one of our partners, and I do this like every day with multiple of our partners. Where like if you need anything, we're here for you, right? And this extends to not just me, but like guys like Ryan who leads marketing, EJ who leads partnerships. Some of our partners will even be like, you guys never fucking sleep, right? Because we're just always terminally online, ready to respond, give you help with anything you need. And I think the other part too is we've had a lot of momentum, right? I think I'll often hear from game devs of some of the top tier games in the space. They'll we're talking to some of them right now about coming over to Zion. One of the data points I get a lot is, hey, we are friends with this game studio, or we're friends with this person, and they really speak highly of you guys, right? And I think that word of mouth, that brand equity, that reputation goes really far for us. And we've done a good job of building a strong reputation and a strong community in a relatively fast fashion. But I think, the way that we're approaching it is not like hyper competitive in the sense of like, if, yeah, I guess just yesterday I tweeted like off the grid is going to start the gaming bull run, right? If gaming is so small that the way that I view it is if one game, regardless of what chain it is on, is a massive hit, that's a huge win for all of us, right?
Yeah.
It's that old saying of like a rising tide lifts all ships. If one game is a massive success, that means, hey man, you just brought everyone's customer acquisition costs down, right? Because if you bring 10 million gamers here, those are 10 million gamers that are now in the ecosystem that didn't exist before, that I can market to, right? That I can try to also get into my ecosystem, right? So I think Web3 gaming is the consumer use case for crypto, and I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
going to be coping that used to call Web3 gaming vapor, where over the next few years, as they see this category exponentially grow, and I think we'll be one of the leading, proponents of that.
I really like that. You talked a little bit about sort of the games that are building on Zion, how you guys look for the games that you guys want to really work with in terms of the specific unique selling points and the unique ways that they're approaching their games. Are you guys only choosing games that are already built, like sort of fleshed out, close to launch, ready to launch? Or are you guys also helping maybe teams that are just coming out with an idea, have a really good pitch deck, have something to show for it, but I have still a couple years to go? What are you guys looking for in terms of games? Are you guys a permission chained, or are people just allowed to build on Zai if they so choose to do so?
Yeah, so I'll answer that kind of going backwards. So we're fully permissionless, fully decentralized. We have, thousands of nodes that are verifying the chain input. So I'd say we're one of the most decentralized chains out there. So, that's a core component of ours. And then in addition to like, what are we looking for? Great question, Caesar. I think to be honest with you guys, like we do not like very early stage game deals. I think they're extremely risky. I think that the only benefit they get is you get to put out an announcement, right? Like we're
Right.
not into the whole announcements. That's a service game, right? For us, like bare, maybe this is bare moans. Like you're 6 months away, but you have to have a playable game. Like if you don't have a playable game, we're not even going to talk to you, honestly, right? And so we try to focus on games that can go live as soon as possible. The reason why is because we want to get users, we want to ship product. Like I think shipping is super important, right? Like I don't want to sit here on a gold mine of money and tokens and just use them in a way that is like, not trying to ship product, right? Like we need to get products out there, find what games can get product market fit, verify our assumptions, and then if what our assumptions are wrong, iterate on them, right? So we can, the next game that we launch or the next game we launch, we've learned these things and get better chance of success, right? It's about kind of that startup mantra of like, if you're gonna fail, fail fast, right? Like if we launch something like, all right, this fucking sucked. Why did it suck? How can we fix it, right? And so when we talk to these games, it's a huge emphasis on like, sorry, man, we're not going to do early stage deals. Happy to chat with you guys when you're ready, to come back, and are in a more mature position where you're ready to launch. I think that's super important because if you look at Web3 gaming historically, funding wise, so many of these games have raised a lot of money, and when the product comes out, it's pretty shit, or the product never even comes out. And I think the issue with that is most games are not venture backable, right? Venture returns are like 50, 100x, like you're trying to hit home runs, right? And I think what we're going to start seeing, hopefully, and we've engaged in some of this, and we want to do more of this, is publisher finance games, right? Where yeah, we'll help finance and finance your game, but like we're going to take a rev share, right? So the reason why that's important is because now games have to be sustainable. They have to produce revenue, right? If they're not producing revenue, the publisher is not going to be making money. No one's going to be making money. Versus if you have this paradigm of venture-backed games, the incentive isn't to build a good game, but the incentive is to build a good token, right? Which I think can go hand in hand. They're not mutually exclusive, but the idea is like, oh, it's better to get listed on like a Binance or an OKX versus like building a game with sustainable revenues. And so we want to focus on revenue. We want to focus on sustainable games that are monetizing correctly, right? Not just getting airdrop farmers, stuff like that. And I think there's nothing wrong with incentives in a game or anything. I don't want people to misconstrue my words there, but I think the trend that we have seen is all of these early stage games getting backed when they don't have much to show for it, raising a lot of venture funding, and I think that just creates a bad selection for what is going to go to market. So that's kind of a rant, but we're really focused on games that can launch and can produce revenue.
Nice. I really like that because I totally agree. I am still waiting for a handful of games that are still developing from a few years ago that I don't even know if they're ever going to launch. But I totally understand with you there. I think that's the shift in focus to games that are near done, especially for a lot of chains, is really a good change for the space. I do have another question because you mentioned this a little bit about when you were talking about the tech sort of pluses as I gives to the space, and it comes with a lot of the abstraction. But you also mentioned that some of the technology that you guys are building, other people can use even if they're not on Zai. Are you guys building tools that maybe are sort of crypto friendly for everyone? Like maybe if they're not built on Zai, but they can use some of that chain abstraction or wallet abstraction for their own games. What are those tools like?
Yeah, so good question. So one thing, for instance, is like we built out this node infra that a lot of people have been using. The Zai Connect stuff, we built that out with like Third Web. A lot of people can use that. Anyone can deploy onto the network, right? That's the permissionless aspect of it. I think what you'll see, especially with Final Form, when that comes to fruition, there's like something really fucking cool that we're working on right now, honestly, that I can't share, but it's gonna be sick in terms of like the hint I can give you is uh verifiable game logic maybe is a good hint. So there's some cool stuff that we're working on in regards to that. There's some other stuff that we're working on too that's kind of like I think a better version of questing and user acquisition stuff that we'll have live sometime later too. Yeah, so those are kind of the main things there. A little bits away, but I think a lot of once we go live with those two different product lines, people will see a lot of value in those, especially third party partners.
Nice. And you also mentioned a little bit ago about the idea of like, hey, once we really hit mass adoption, people aren't going to care if you're building on AVEX, if you're building on Ronin, if you're building on Zai. As long as you have a really good game, people will come, especially with the abstraction side of things. If people don't have to worry about bridging their funds or making a new wallet every time they try a game, it makes it a lot easier for them to try a lot of different ecosystems. With this idea in mind of just being able to build everywhere, are you guys encouraging the games that are built on Zai to work together in sort of an ecosystem? Are you guys hoping to create like, hey, this is the Zai experience, or a game is going to be more solitary in the way that they're building, where there's not a lot of interoperability between the games?
Good question. So I think we want like a cohesive, strong community across our builders. So a lot of them we've introduced to each other. They're already working on collabs with each other. I think it just makes like a lot of sense to do it that way. There's strength in numbers, right? I think for us, it's about gaming is hard, like really fucking hard, honestly. Like I've thought about this, like with the person that I am, the connections that I have. Like if I wanted to just maximize my, like purely if I wanted to just make money, I'd probably be building a DeFi. But I'm very passionate about gaming, and I strongly believe that gaming is going to be the killer use case for a consumer, which is why I do this. And it's extremely difficult, right? But and the reason I think because it's so difficult, there's only so many people, so few people that can empathize with you. And having these developers that work closely with each other, whether that's, maybe that's not like their IP is interoperable, but it's like, hey man, we found this solution worked really well for fiat on and off ramp, right? Or we found this solution worked really well for like, a payment relay or something, whatever, right? Like all these different things, or as simple as like, hey, we found a really good way to optimize a mobile build, right? Or we're working with this gaming guild that has shown us a lot of numbers. Like, let us introduce them to you. So I think there's a lot of collaborativeness, and there's collaborative. I think crypto in general has an ethos of collaboration. I think in gaming, in crypto gaming or Web3 gaming, whatever you want to call it, that's even more emphasized because it's like, holy shit, bro, you're also crazy to like go do this, right? And so I think we do have a lot of cohesiveness and kindredness between our ecosystem. And I love to see that. I love seeing our different gaming founders and stuff working with each other, talking to each other, and we help bridge those teams together as well. So I think strong sense of ecosystem is important to us, and we're building a strong sense of that.
Rad, solid answer. I mean, I asked you that question earlier of like, okay, if I'm looking at a chain that is going to bring gaming into its potential future, I want to know how do they win for gamers? We got the check mark there. How do they win for game developers? We got the check mark there. But the other piece of the puzzle is, and you came from DeFi. Both of us came from DeFi. We all recognize that 90% of people in broader crypto just kind of view us as like the ugly stepchild of crypto. Gaming is not looked at yet. I mean, you mentioned it's like we're the vapor. Like no one really believes that this space is legit. So there is a piece of the puzzle of like, hey, we have to, as a space at some point, show value to the rest of crypto that, look, man, like this space matters. We're actually proving that this tech works in regular world applications that could bring normal users in that maybe don't care too much about crypto. That's the future of crypto, right? Is getting people to use the technology without being the nerds like us that are obsessed with the technology. What does that look like for you guys as far as getting, whether that is speculators or that's getting people that maybe aren't gamers but do love crypto? Like, why would they either get involved, whether that's through things like nodes? Why would they get involved? How would they get involved? What would the pitch be if you were talking to a room of, I don't know, you're at permissionless or something, and you're talking to a room full of DeFi bros and telling them, hey, XAI is the place where crypto user acquisition is going to take place? What would that conversation look like?
Great question. So there's a couple of things that we've done strategically that I've shown this. So one, obviously the node stuff, right? I think the node stuff is important because that gave me the node stuff can build a really strong emotional, psychological connection with the chain. Like it reminds me of like back in the day when I think it was like Mist was the wallet. You had to like sync an ETH node to like use the wallet and shit. Or even, setting up, I used to do spec mining with like Honey Miner, right? Where I would like do all these different proof of work coins. And that like it just felt so fucking cool, bro. You felt like you were like hacking the mainframe and shit. And it just created this, cool psychological experience. So we have that for like the cypherpunks and people that believe in decentralization, which I think is a large crowd of people. And we've shown tremendous success in that, right? $45 million raised through that. So obviously, like huge community initiative. People love that stuff. We're building on Arbitrum very strategically because Arbitrum is where DeFi lives. So, one thing that we want to do and see more of is like XAI become blue chip collateral across Arbitrum DeFi. So it's already listed on like Dolomite, working on getting on like Radiant, stuff like that. Something cool to share too. So Nova Dash and Spiral, our two contributors to XAI, they just built a XAI liquid staking token, right? And they're getting that listed on Curve. They're getting that with Jones DAO, all this stuff, right? So like a lot more like DeFi yield bearing strategies than any other. Like, there's no other fucking gaming chain even thinking about that. stuff,
So if I'm the type of person that I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm not gaming all the time, but I really do believe that gaming could be one of the sectors in crypto that prove the value of blockchain. So I got to get involved somehow. Liquid staking is an option.
Liquid staking is an option. Regular staking is an option. All this stuff is an option. So like the cool things I think are like having these huge, making these huge strategic decisions that I think are the right decisions, right? Of like, let's build on Arbitrum, let's extend that, let's be collaborative. Like I'm a huge delegate to the Arbitrum DAO, right? Work with a lot of these
Cool.
protocols and working towards getting some of this stuff. And there's some other cool stuff that we're working on too in this space. But I think something I want to highlight is, the liquid staking stuff, that's not something that we built, right? That was built by the community. Right. And I think that's awesome to see the community itself creating these financial primitives. There's this other thing, the MetaStreet and Impossible Finance just put this proposal up in our Discord for something called NodeFi, right? Where you can borrow against your nodes. You can actually pendle the nodes, right? And so all of these things are community led, community driven. And it shows like, once you have cryptographic based money is like, you have all these money Legos that can be
Right.
permissionlessly deployed and altered and used in different ways. And we're seeing that firsthand, right? With our community coming up with these ideas of like, hey, I have this productive asset in a Xi node. Why should I not be able to get a loan against it? Why should I not be able to sell the future yield against it, right? I have, Xi staking yield is quite nice, but the lockup may be prohibitive. So why can't I do a liquid staking token and then also LP the liquid staking token and Xi on Curve or on Uniswap and get yield incentives for that as well? So we're seeing these things that are like normally only in DeFi centric or
Right.
general purpose chains being done on Xi. And I think this is actually very unique. I don't see any other gaming chain doing this in any way. And I think part of that is because we're so community first and so community driven. And we do that, like we're building in the open, right? We're like, we have Discord conversations. We have so many touch points for the community to talk to us. But again, I think a lot of this comes from the fact that we are so Arbitrum aligned. I'm so bullish on Arbitrum and that general ecosystem. And that ecosystem has such big DeFi builders that I think they see Xi leading the way as the most used Orbit chain, one of the most used chains in crypto. They go, how can we use this collateral as, make it a yield bearing instrument or like a productive instrument, right? And we're seeing that firsthand, and it's awesome to see. And I think that is another unique selling point that we have.
Right. If I was someone that loved Arbitrum, I would be asking the question, like, how could I ensure that Xi wins so that Arbitrum wins? Because if you guys are successful as an Arbitrum L3, then that's going to bring more success onto Arbitrum. What is that, as far as that relationship with the Arbitrum community goes, are they like directly supporting you guys? Is that just some of the developers that really dig it? Like because I've never seen anyone build like on top of one of the, I would, in my mind, I would be looking at like, ooh, is someone building a chain on top of Base or on top of Arbitrum, on top of Optimism? Like that's where I'd be most interested in that conversation. And I think that's just you guys at this point. What does that relationship look like between Arbitrum and you guys?
So with Offchain Labs, we're really, really close with them. Offchain Labs is the original, contributor creator of Arbitrum.
Yep.
They're actually direct contributors to Xi. They work directly on the protocol. One of the teams contributing to the code base, etc. With the Arbitrum Foundation, we have a very strong relationship with the Arbitrum Foundation. With the Arbitrum DAO, I'm one of the largest delegates in the Arbitrum DAO. Work really closely there. And in general, I myself personally, I was an early Arbitrum investor. Haven't even claimed a single token from my investment.
Should have worn my Arbitrum hat for this episode, man.
Dude, same. My Arbitrum hat's in the other room. I should have worn that too.
Same, mine's upstairs.
But we work really closely with a lot of these teams, and I've early investor in some different Arbitrum DeFi protocols as well. I think it is time consuming and it's hard and difficult, but I've been in the community for so long and then entrenched in the community for so long that it comes natural to us to work with these people. And I think the other thing too is other protocols and developers and builders in the larger Arbitrum ecosystem, they see Xi and they know Xi that like we're very Arbitrum aligned, right? That we like, what's funny actually, we have gotten $0 fucking from the Arbitrum DAO, literally $0, right? And we're the biggest Orbit chain in crypto, right? Like we're pushing the development of Orbit chains faster than anyone else, and that's I think that's going to that zero numbers should change hopefully, right? As there's more gaming initiatives and stuff built by the DAO, but I think that goes so far, right? In terms of like hey, these guys have never gotten like a single penny from the
So you're
Arbitrum,
not just
like
shilling.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like we're in it for the right reasons, right? And we're contributing and going to bat as much as we possibly can. Me personally, and as an organization, both are doing a lot for the Arbitrum ecosystem. And I think we just function on a different time horizon than people, right? Like I think we're trying to build for the next 5-10 years, and that's the decision matrix. Like that is the time horizon that impacts our decision matrix versus other teams and projects not really in the Arbitrum ecosystem anymore, or we're in the Arbitrum system. Some people kind of go from one ecosystem to the other, whoever will give them the most money, right? And that's not how we make decisions. We go where we have the best chance of success because we believe in what we're building, and we believe in our team, and we believe that we have all of the resources to execute on our vision, and it's a big vision.
Cool. Well said, Soby. Man, I dig it. You guys are like the sweet symphony between DeFi and gaming. It's a fun take on how you blend those worlds. And man, I hope you guys win because, like you've said a few times, one ship wins, everyone else rises. And I think there is, dude. Caesar and I spent 3 years exploring DeFi, building stuff over there, having a great time, and we just went all in on gaming. It's not like we don't love that space anymore. It really is just, hey, I just don't see any other sector in crypto that proves the value, that proves the use case that can actually gather the next million users. We all talk about that freaking killer app that's going to get the next million users. That killer app is going to be a game. It's going to be something in the gaming ecosystems. And so I want to see the space win. And I think you guys are, certainly at the forefront of that. If people want to explore XAI following this episode, they want to play a game, they want to do something cool, maybe with the liquid staking or whatever else you guys have got going on, where should they go? What should they go do? What should they be excited
Great
about?
question. So just follow us on Twitter, XAI_games, join the Discord, right? We have a bunch of stuff going up on Galaxy and stuff, and then go there. And then the other thing too, right, is for the liquid staking stuff, go follow Novo Dash on Twitter. There's a lot out there. Just follow like Twitter is honestly the best place, and Discord's the best place to go. And we will cook. We will cook pretty hard.
We will cook. Beautiful, Soby. Thank you so much for joining us on 100X. Hey, if you've listened to this episode, go show some love to everyone at XAI. There will be some links down here wherever you're listening, and we will see you next time on the 100X podcast.